Hi there, it's Melody Brooke again. Today's message is for women, and it's also for men, but it's for women to help them understand why it is that men seem to be so obsessed with sex. And this is a funny thing because there are a lot of women who, as they get older, start wanting sex themselves, and their husband's desire for it starts waning, and they think it's because they've gained weight or they're old and they're not sexy to their husband anymore. It's funny the way our minds work. When the reality is that our sex drive is really driven, literally, by our hormones. And when we're young, men's hormones are just raging, and their testosterone levels are way high. They have no control over these impulses. And it's a funny story that one day I was at a workshop where a woman by the name of Pia Melody was talking about having had the experience of being put on testosterone because she was a low T woman. And so she was put on testosterone, only the levels weren't right. And so as a result, all she could think about was sex. It was in her mind constantly. And it was after a couple of weeks of that that she realized, oh my gosh, this is what men go through every day of their lives. Get that. Let that sink in. Men deal with this every day of their lives, especially when they're young. And at an age where they don't really have the maturity level necessarily to know how to deal with that. And then in return, women who do not have a comparable sex drive, generally speaking, I know there are exceptions, then we're confused, and we think that they're just, sex addicts, or we think that they're obsessed with sex, or we think they just need to settle themselves down and get more control over themselves. And we don't realize the strength of those impulses. And yes, they have to make a wise decision about what to do with those impulses. Absolutely. They have to be smart about it. They have to be responsible about it. They have to be empathetic and understanding of women and respectful of women in that process. But at the same time, as women, it's really important that we recognize that this is not something they need to be shamed for. It's just part of who they are. And if that's who they are, we have to have some empathy for what they're experiencing, how they are having to deal with it, and help give them some more understanding and perhaps even some gentleness in response to this urge that they don't really have much control over, that is pretty overwhelming, and see if we can't help them find a way to relieve some of those tensions without shaming them. That's really important, especially if you're a young woman married to a young man. Even as we get older, sometimes we have a high testosterone man who continues to have these drives, and maybe we don't. It's okay. We can find a way to be compassionate in our response to that and help them with those urges in a way that is not shaming and doesn't make them feel like they're somehow um, bad or wrong for having those very natural feelings. So my message today to women is be compassionate with your man. Understand that those feelings are not something they can necessarily manage without some help from you. So don't be so shaming about those feelings that they have. I'm not saying you have to give in every time they want it. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I am saying recognize that this is something that is really strong, and have some empathy for them, and maybe even be more giving in the bedroom with them as a result of having some compassion for that. That's my tip for today. My name is Melody Brooke, and this is my book. It's called Oh Wow, This Changes Everything, and it's available on Kindle and Amazon and even on Audible. Check it out. You can find out more about me at melodybrooke.com. Talk to you later. Bye.